Australia is the kind of place that feels like someone took a normal country, threw it into a blender with myths, nightmares, and pure chaos, then hit turbo. Whenever I read or hear about Australia, I'm reminded that it's essentially a whole continent designed by nature on hard mode. But the deeper you go, the more you realize the wildest parts of Australia aren't the giant spiders, beach-hopping kangaroos, or the fact that the sun there feels like a personal attack. The real insanity is found in the strange historical events, rare ecosystems, unusual animals, and bizarre natural phenomena that almost no one outside Australia ever hears about. One of the craziest things I learned is that Australia once fought a war against birds, and they lost. This wasn't a joke or some local prank that got out of hand. Back in 1932, emus, giant, angry, sprinting birds that looked like dinosaurs with feathers, were overrunning farmlands. So the Australian government decided to send soldiers with machine guns to take them down. You'd expect that to be the end of the story, right? Birds versus bullets? But nope. The emus won. They outran the soldiers, dodged bullets like they were in the Matrix, and completely humiliated the government. The birds literally scattered into squads, flanked the troops, and survived everything thrown at them. After thousands of rounds of ammunition, the Australian military admitted defeat. So yes, there is a country on Earth that lost a war to oversized chickens. And the birds didn't stop there. Australia also has cassowaries, which are basically real-life velociraptors with the attitude of someone who elbows you in a grocery line. These things can run at insane speeds, jump ridiculously high, and have dagger-like claws sharp enough to slice skin open with one kick. They're so dangerous that local rangers literally warn people, if you see one, back away slowly. Don't run, don't provoke it, and absolutely do not feed it. Only in Australia would a tropical bird be ranked as one of the most dangerous animals in the country. And that's a place with saltwater crocodiles. Speaking of crocs, Northern Australia is home to the largest reptile on Earth, the saltwater crocodile, which can grow longer than a car and weigh more than a pickup truck. These beasts don't just swim, they stalk. They'll wait silently for hours, barely a ripple in the water, and then launch themselves out like a missile at 70 kilometers per hour. Locals say the crocs don't mistake humans for prey. They hunt humans deliberately if the opportunity comes. And the wildest part? These crocodiles sometimes swim hundreds of kilometers out into the open ocean. Imagine chilling on a boat miles offshore and realizing a literal prehistoric monster is casually passing by beneath you. But nature isn't the only thing going wild in Australia. The continent has the oldest continuous living culture on Earth, the Aboriginal peoples, whose lineage stretches back more than 60,000 years. Their knowledge of astronomy, medicine, and land management is so sophisticated that scientists are still learning from them today. For example, their controlled burn techniques, known as fire stick farming, are now recognized worldwide as a masterclass in preventing catastrophic wildfires. While modern governments are still figuring out how to handle climate change, Aboriginal communities had already been shaping the land sustainably for tens of thousands of years. And speaking of land, Australia has deserts that literally sing. No, not metaphorically. The sand dunes in some parts of the outback produce deep, booming noises when the sand grains slide over each other. It sounds like the earth itself is humming under your feet. Early explorers were terrified of this phenomenon, thinking it was supernatural. Scientists now know it happens due to layers of dry, rounded sand grains moving in unison, but that doesn't make it any less unsettling. Then there's Tasmania, a place that looks peaceful but hides some of the weirdest wildlife stories on the planet. The Tasmanian devil, for example, is an animal that screams like a demon, has jaws strong enough to crush bone, and can spin into a chaotic frenzy when feeding. That sounds like something a cartoon made up, until you hear one in real life at night and instantly reconsider every life choice. But Tasmania has an even stranger secret. Locals widely believe that the Tasmanian tiger, a striped carnivorous marsupial declared extinct in the 1930s, may still exist. There have been hundreds of sightings from farmers, hikers, and even police officers, all describing the same thing: a dog-like animal with a stiff tail and tiger stripes across its back. Video footage remains inconclusive, but the consistency of the descriptions keeps the legend alive. it might be one of the last great wildlife mysteries. Meanwhile, in Western Australia, there's a pink lake so bright it looks photoshopped. Lake Hillier isn't polluted, and it's not an illusion. The water is naturally bubblegum pink due to algae and bacteria that produce red pigments. What's wild is that even when you scoop the water into a bottle, it stays pink. Standing next to it feels like you've glitched into a fantasy video game. Australia also has spiders, but not the kind people typically freak out about. Everyone loves to talk about huntsman spiders, the huge but harmless ones, or funnel web spiders, the extremely deadly ones. But the weirdest spider of all is the peacock spider, a tiny, brightly colored jumping spider that dances like it's trying to win a mating season talent show. These things have better dance moves than half the internet. But one of the most unbelievable facts is geological. Australia moves. Literally. The entire continent shifts north by about 7 centimeters every year because of tectonic activity. GPS coordinates constantly need updating, which means if you use old mapping data, you'd actually be off by meters. Picture that. An entire continent drifting like a lazy boat. Another thing most people never hear about is Australia's underground opal mining towns. In places like Coober Pedy, temperatures get so extreme that residents build homes, shops, and even churches underground. Imagine living in tunnels carved out like a real-life hobbit village. But instead of peaceful meadows, you're surrounded by desert and gemstone dust. Australia also accidentally created a feral camel problem. Yes, camels, thousands of them. They were brought in for transport during the 1800s, then released once cars replaced them. Today, over 1 million wild camels roam the outback. So many that the government sometimes has to remove them because they damage farmland and drain water sources. And let's not forget the quokka, the happiest animal on Earth. Tourists travel from all over the world just to take selfies with these adorable, permanently smiling marsupials. But behind the cuteness is a strange instinct. Mother quokkas will sometimes toss their babies out of the pouch when escaping predators. It sounds brutal, but it's a survival mechanism that evolved over thousands of years. Only in Australia can an animal be both adorable and morally questionable at the same time. One of the more bizarre Aussie problems is cane toads, an invasive species introduced in the 1930s to kill beetles. Instead, the toads multiplied into millions, became poisonous, and started killing everything that tried to eat them. The ecosystem still hasn't recovered. But here's where it gets crazy. Australians found out that when cane toads die and dry out, their skin becomes a kind of hallucinogen. That's right. Some people literally lick toads to get high. If that doesn't sum up Australian chaos energy, nothing does. Even clouds in Australia behave weirdly. The Morning Glory Cloud, a massive tube-shaped cloud formation stretching up to 1,000 kilometers long, rolls through northern Australia at certain times of the year. Pilots flock there just to ride the cloud's updrafts like surfers. It looks so alien that for years meteorologists couldn't explain it. And then there's the wildlife encounters locals treat as normal. Imagine going to work and finding a kangaroo casually blocking your car, or waking up to a giant python chilling in your bathroom because it was too hot outside. Or opening your mailbox to discover a huntsman spider the size of your hand politely occupying the space. Australians shrug these off like it's Monday morning weather. But the more I explored Australia's unbelievable quirks, the more I realized something else. The country doesn't just have wild facts. It has whole layers of strangeness stacked on top of each other like geological time. For example, almost nobody outside the country knows that Australia is home to enormous, ancient underground cave systems filled with rare crystals, prehistoric fossils, and blind creatures that evolved in total darkness. In the Nullarbor region, beneath the flat desert, there are underwater caves so deep and dangerous that only a handful of specially trained divers in the world can explore them. These caves are so untouched that scientists found bacteria living in complete isolation for possibly tens of thousands of years. It's like an alien planet hiding right below your feet. And if that wasn't surreal enough, Australia is also home to the oldest known meteorite crater on Earth, the Yarrabubba crater, which is over 2.2 billion years old. Scientists believe the impact was so massive, it may have helped end a global ice age. So, in a way, Australia played a role in kickstarting warm, life-friendly conditions on the planet. Meanwhile, At the other end of the timeline, Australia also has the world's youngest active volcanoes outside the Ring of Fire. So on one continent, you have both ancient planetary scars and fresh geological activity simmering underneath. One of the strangest things I learned involved the Great Barrier Reef, not just the reef itself, which is the largest living structure on Earth, but the fact that once a year, the entire reef explodes in a synchronized spawning event. Corals across hundreds of kilometers release millions of eggs and sperm into the ocean at the same time, turning the water into a milky underwater blizzard. The coordination is so precise that scientists still don't fully understand how corals separated by vast distances know exactly when to trigger the event. It's one of the most dramatic natural spectacles on Earth, and it happens silently beneath the waves. Meanwhile, on land, you have creatures that behave like they've evolved with a sense of humor. Kangaroos, for example, aren't just bouncy mascots. They can disembowel predators with their claws, drown dogs by pulling them underwater, and even square up on their tails to kick like martial artists. Yet they also casually wander through suburban gardens, peek into windows, or hop down the street like they're out for groceries. Australia is the only place where a wild animal strong enough to beat up a bodybuilder is also considered cute wildlife. There's also a strange phenomenon involving wombats, chunky, adorable marsupials with surprising superpowers. Wombats have cube-shaped poop, something no other animal on Earth produces. Scientists discovered that their intestines shape the feces into little cubes before they exit the body, allowing wombats to stack them like building blocks to mark territory. It's a place where danger and beauty coexist. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown useful, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more deep dives made simple. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. See you in the next one.